Hey, what's up, guys? John here. Are you ready for an October surprise that'll reshape and change everything we know about America? Just look at the last 72 hours. All the chaos that has unfolded all throughout North Carolina.
North Carolina, that town is basically cut off from the rest of the state right now. Most of the city is totally submerged in water.
And the state's governor is calling the crisis there an unprecedented tragedy.
All the chaos that has unfolded all throughout Georgia, all throughout Tennessee.
Emergency evacuations in Georgia following a chemical plant fire outside Atlanta.
It's reported over $100 billion in damage has already been done. And this problem, it's not over yet, not by a landslide. Because at the same exact time that all that chaos has happened, we now have the port strike, which looks like it's going on and going to happen starting in about 12 hours at midnight tonight.
Thousands of dock workers are set to strike as early as Tuesday and disrupting the national supply chain.
If that happens, it could block millions of products from reaching store shelves.
45,000 workers, over 85,000 people indirectly impacted at the ports. 36 ports from Maine to Texas could grind to a halt. Within 5 to 7 days, we could start seeing our shelves at grocery stores becoming a little bit more bare. Gas stations could soon run out of gas. I mean, this is what the media is reporting. They say the biggest tragedy that will be coming will be farmers and all of the food that could soon fade away. Now, I'm not saying this to scare anyone, not at all. But facts are facts. If this is what's important, we should look at this very, very clearly. The America we once knew is changing. I mean, don't take my word for it. Let's look at some of the headlines. This came out last week, the New Yorker. Is it time to torch this? Right? This is what makes America. So when this is gone, America changes. You have the New Yorker, which also owns Discovery Channel and Wired, Condé Nast, Publications, right? Well, then you look at the Hill. Is the Constitution fit for today's America, right? Then you see the New York Times 1 month ago. Is it also dangerous? New York Times, look at the top shareholders. It just pops right up, top shareholders. We all know these companies. You can see very, very clearly that everything is going to be changing, everything. And in this video, I'm going to break it down and show you why I think this October, which starts tomorrow, could change everything we know about this country, everything that we know about the standard of living, everything we know about living here. I mean, what this is actually going to look like. I believe that we're going to see millions of people losing everything over the coming year or so. And that's on the low end. It's probably going to be many tens of millions of people losing everything. I think we're walking into the biggest crash in American history, probably the biggest wealth building opportunity that we'll ever see again. For those that are prepared, for those that are really, really, really paying attention to what's unfolding. I also think we're going to see a major migration of wealthy people leaving America, looking to go somewhere a little bit safer. I think we're just going to see so much change, and those that are prepared will be the beneficiaries of this change. Please hit the like button. When you do, YouTube will share the content, educate more people about what's going on in this country and our economy. And today's video is sponsored by ITM Trading, and more on that in just a little bit. Take a look at this. So you've probably seen some of these videos of 4.5 million views. Look at this entire town. Like, how crazy is that? That's an entire town. Just all that property completely, basically worthless now. All those homes. Good luck getting insurance in these areas. The business owners, there is no business. People's entire livelihood lost over this. You have Biltmore. This looks like a school. All these buildings, all of this completely gone. This is the I-40, which is a major hub for tractor trailers. This is an anchor in our supply chain, which now is looks completely destroyed. It looks completely destroyed. 994,000 views on that single video. Here, deadly disaster across 5 states, many millions without power, thousands missing. Now, what's shocking with this is when you start to realize what this would mean. If you have 2 million, 3 million, on Friday the number was 4.4 million people without power. They've brought a lot of power back to a lot of people in Florida. You think about all the food in their refrigerators, their freezers, completely gone. Think about the state of most people's finances right now. They can't afford a $400 expense. 80% of people, if you go in through a fast food drive-through, is a luxury. you have millions of people being, evacuated or without power. You just imagine what this will look like. This video, 5.3 million views, is this man just standing here watching this bridge getting completely just demolished. Completely demolished. Now, when you see all this and you see everything happening, look at this. This is shocking, 1.8 million views. Look at this town. It's just gone. It's completely gone. Think about what that's going to mean for every single person that lives there. Here, it says, I hate being Chicken Little, but I drive the stretch of the I-40 every week from ATL to Tennessee. It is heavily traveled by supply chain tractor trailers. With the East Coast port strike starting tomorrow and now a major supply route gone, you may want to grab a few essentials. This is what he's saying. Now, I'm not telling anyone to panic. I want to be very, very clear, I'm not. But I am saying facts are important, and we should pay attention to what's happening in this country to prepare for it, because it looks like a lot is changing. And this happened the same exact time in Georgia. 4.6 million views. Like, what are the odds, right? Now, this in Los Angeles, allegedly, 9/28, so on Friday last week, Saturday, you have all of these tractor trailers, everything is just grinded to a halt, and they're just sitting there unable to move. Look at this. Unable to move, just back-to-back gridlock. Now, what I think is going to happen next is I think we're going to see this strike. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think we're actually going to see this strike happen. And I think we could see inflation start to really pick up in this country. I think we're going to see people saying, you know what, I'd rather have the goods than have the dollars. I'm going to pay more, even if it's 2 or 3 times more. I'm going to buy it because I don't have a choice. I think we're going to see people swiping their credit card because they'd rather have a problem with the credit card company than unable to feed themselves or their family. And I think we're just going to start to see a lot of these changes likely unfold. The reason for it is because if you look at what they're requesting and you look at the likelihood of a deal being made here, I think that we're likely going to see this strike at least for a little bit, but I think that they're so far apart on terms that I don't see a deal happening in the next 12 hours, the next 11 hours. And it's been reported that the White House is not going to get involved. They're not going to prevent this situation from unfolding. And so what they're requesting is in early bargaining, industry analysts say the union sought 77% pay raises over 6 years to make up for inflation and give workers a chunk of the billions made by shipping companies since the pandemic. Now, many people would see that and say, look, these shipping companies are making billions and billions of dollars. And these employees, they should earn a fair wage, a wage in which they can live off of, no doubt. But when you look at what they're asking and what the future of shipping and supply chains will look like, you'll realize that it goes way beyond what is morally correct. What they're asking for is they're asking to ban automation. They want to ban automation. However, the future of supply chains, just type, what are the future of supply chains, what will they look like? Use of artificial intelligence and other digital technology to automate execution. Every single article is about the plan for future supply chains, automations, right? And of course this, right? Now, every single article is talking about how everything is going to be around AI. Everything is going to be, look, the importance of sustainability, utilization of AI, automation, greater integration of blockchain, expansion of omni-channel supply chains, customization of personalization and scale. Now, do you think that these ports that have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to make as much money as possible are going to want to issue a 20, 30, 40, or even 50% pay raise and to reduce their ability to reduce cost? I would say no. I would say the odds of this deal unfolding and happening are very, very slim. However, if a strike does happen, this will allow a perfect opportunity for many of these ports to lay off tens of thousands of workers without offering some major type of severance. They can say, look, no deal. And as this continues to get worse and worse and worse, people are going to say, look, we can't rely on people for supply chains. We cannot rely on them because look at what's unfolding right now inside of our grocery stores, inside of our shelves. And so what I think is likely happen is we could see inflation skyrocket in a very, very, very big way. This being said, I want to take a moment and talk about ITM trading. If you are thinking about investing in gold, silver, precious metals, there is no better outlet, no better person, or no better company to talk to than a specialist at ITM Trading. They've been around for 28 years. Now, this isn't like a sales company where you're going to call them and they're going to try to sell you something. If you're thinking about, hey, I got $1,000, I got $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, I want to invest in precious metals. Now will be the time to look into this. And now some people might say, look, John, gold prices are almost at all-time highs. Why would I buy now? Prices could go down 2 or 3%. I would argue that there's more of a likelihood that we're going to walk into chaotic periods, and investors and individuals are going to look to flock to safety. And they are going to invest in gold and silver. Central banks are going to buy more of precious metals. We're going to see countries start to de-dollarize more and more and more as America walks into crisis. And what are they going to do that? How are they going to do it? They're going to buy gold. They're going to buy silver. They're going to buy assets that are stores of value during periods of crisis. Now, I personally am a big proponent of gold. I really just believe that gold is going to hold a hell of a lot more value than most things during what we're likely going to be walking into. So if you are on that same page, you think, you know what, I would like to own a little bit of gold. I would like to own a little silver. Maybe you're not ready right now. Now is a great time to pick up the phone, click the link in the description, pick up the phone and have a conversation with someone that'll give you some free advice, some free guidance on what it would look like to invest in gold and silver. The worst case scenario is that you learn something that you otherwise didn't know. And the more information you have, the more informed decision you could make. So to do that, you can go to ITM Trading by clicking the link in the description just below this video. Take a look at this. So this strike, all the way from Boston to Maine, as this begins to likely unfold, we are going to see this big transition unfold in October. And I think we could see a scenario where this country erupts into chaos. I really mean that, because I don't think we're just going to see this easy transition from our current supply chains to where they're going to be taking the supply chains without this having to happen. Now, as you start to kind of look at all this, they also say oil market's not priced in for an all-out war, right? As the situation in Israel, as this continues to grow. This came out today, right? So you have all these problems at the same exact time. Now the farmers issue a statement that is, to me, frightening, because farmers, their net income 2024 is down 25% from last year. 25%. And what they say here is they said that the strike of workers' ports from Texas to Maine will reportedly hammer U.S. farmers already dealing with an economic downward spiral. We don't need another hit right now. And this is definitely going to have an impact on agriculture. This is this has been an ambassador to the UN, Agriculture's Food Agency during, look at this. They say unionized dock workers at the International Longshoremen Association, which represents 45,000 members, at East Coast and Gulf Coast ports may go on strike tomorrow if the agreement isn't reached today, right? The two sides, and so this is what they say here. They say analysis JP Morgan says it's going to cost $5 billion a day. Separately, over 300 farmers and ranchers are pushing for a bill to address an industry decline. Net income from U.S. agriculture is forecast to fall more than 27%, to $55.61 billion from 2022. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, these stats were highlighted in a letter of Senate House leadership in September and detailed by the American Farmer Bureau Federation. Since the beginning of the year, the harvest price of major crops traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange from the Intercontinental Exchange have fallen an average of 21%, while total production costs remain near record lows. We're already at a point where we came under Trump administration about $32 billion trade surplus, and now we're expected a $42 billion deficit going into 2025. So we're already being hit with a lot of loss of exports from the U.S. and good food products. So you see what's going on with the farmers. You see what's happening to their profits. They're even saying here today that fraudsters attack B2B payments as supply chains prove to be vulnerable. Like, the odds of us not walking into a big problem, I think, are very, very, very slim. But then it brings me to this big question. When you look at these 5 states that are being hit right now with, just endless property damage, endless losses, how are these towns, how are these cities, how is America going to get rebuilt and recover from this? Now, property taxes inside of these markets, I believe, are going to plummet. Why? Because property values are going to tank. Who is going to want to buy a property, buy a home along the Gulf Coast of Florida, in Georgia after all the disaster, in North Carolina? Very little people want to buy there. Getting insurance, good luck inside of these areas. And so when you look at what's going to happen with property taxes likely falling, insurance going through the roof, and the cost to build inside of these areas, you just have to ask yourself, what's going to happen to these markets, right? I think we're going to see a lot of people leaving these areas permanently. And I think this trend is likely going to continue in the years to come. Now, they say here, property taxes are critically important for municipal governments. Nationwide, they provide 30% of local revenues. They are one of the few funding sources that local government controls, and climate directly threatens them. As climate warms oceans, it fuels hurricanes and increases their reach of intensity. Climate also is raising sea levels, which increases coastal flooding both in storms, high tides, often referred to as sunny day flooding. Unlike storms, sea level rises doesn't recede, so it threatens to permanently inundate coastal lands over time. Property tax revenues may decline as insurance companies and property markets downgrade values to reflect climate. Now, the CEO of Redfin was issuing this warning, saying that it's going to be very, very hard to get insurance, very hard to live in these higher risk areas. And I think that's what we're walking into right now. Now, they say here that Hurricane Helene, $100 billion in damages expected. $100 billion came out today. Now, insurance companies, their insured losses, they're already reported at $5 billion. $5 billion. AM best estimates that insured losses from Hurricane Helene will likely exceed $5 billion. Now, my prediction, what's going to happen with these insurance companies is we're going to see them folding up. There might be, many hundreds or maybe even low thousands of total insurance companies. When you look at mom and pops and really small shops, all the way up to the really big Geicos of the world and the Prudentials, we're going to start seeing these companies fold up. And we're going to see them, maybe we have 10 or 20 or 30 insurance companies. And that's going to give them almost like a monopoly over the market. And if they can continue to factor in their newfound cost, and they're going to just jack up rates, how many people are going to be able to afford to own a home with insurance? What about a car? Right? I really think we're going to see a lot of people getting squeezed in a really big way with insurance. There's just no way around it. How Hurricane Helene could have widespread consequences for homeowners, although it's too early to know the full extent of Helene's damage. And this is the Washington Post. Experts said the storm could have a major consequence for homeowners, the private insurance industry, and federal flood insurance program. When Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida on Thursday night, it made landfall in the state's sparsely populated Big Bend, far from glittering cities with expensive waterfront properties to the south, but that didn't stop Helene from becoming a multi-billion-dollar superstorm. The hurricane's massive size and record-breaking storm surge left an equally massive footprint of destruction across the southeast from Florida's Tampa Bay region to Georgia, Tennessee, Carolinas. The storm probably caused 15 to 26 billion in property damage, as well as additional 5 to 8 billion in lost economic output. Now, the number that they were reporting on is 100 billion. So we're going to see what this number is. I think the number is going to just keep going up. Now, I don't see a way around it. What do you think about this situation? You have everything that's happened throughout those 5 states. You have the port strike that's scheduled for midnight tonight. You have this major shift in the eyes of Americans about what the future of this country will look like. I think we're walking into something very, very, very big, something very concerning, and I think Americans should look at the writing on the wall. I'm not saying, I want to be very clear, I'm not telling anyone to panic. I'm not saying, to be panicking or freaking out or anything like that. I'm not. But I am saying that we should look at the facts, the material facts. We should look at the $100 billion plus in property damage, everything that's happening with the ports, what could potentially unfold if this all moves forward. And the likelihood of this scenario, I think, is probably greater than 5%, possibly greater than 10%. And that's a huge number. What do you think, though? I'm really curious. I mean, also, let's not forget that major TV stations across the country appear to be testing this, and 1 million views on this. So, I don't know. Let's have a conversation about this. For more information on ITM trading or to schedule a call to learn about investing in gold and silver, you can click the link in the description just below this video. Catch you next video.